for joining us for handling objections is what we're going to talk about for the next half an hour. I've received my phone call, so I don't need to be interrupted again. So I think most people who are on here tonight have already been on for half an hour, but I thought that it was now time for us to start to focus on some of the difficult questions and the vulnerable moments that we have in talking about our product or our business. So I want this to be an interactive call. Please do I've asked a few people who came on earlier if they had any difficult questions that they were asked, any objections that they have had around the product or the business, to share those so that we can all brainstorm together and help people come up with really good, strong, powerful ways of handling those objections. But I always like to think of the handling objections thing as a little bit of an algorithm. I do most things in life algorithmically. It comes with being a surgeon. If this, then this. If this, then this. But certainly over my time with the Juice Plus company, one of the most challenging things has been handling the objections that I have had around the product or the business. And for many, many years, probably my downfall would be I'd put my boxing gloves on and I'd come out of the corner. Has anyone ever done that with people who have objections about cost or about the product really working, or how can you possibly get all those fruits and veggies in the capsule? I would put my boxing gloves on and then I'd come out fighting. And I think that's possibly the worst way that you can actually handle objections. And so over the years, in listening to success leaders, and we all know that success leaves clues, I've come up with 4 or 5 principles that I think are really helpful in handling difficult questions from people, and also objections that people might have to the product or the business. So if you have had an objection, I'd love it if you could post it in our feed, and we can then open up the line towards the end and work on a really great way of handling those objections. So if you'd like to share, please do, and we'll come back to them at the end. So as I have said time and time again, this business, working with this business and this product, it's about being first a product of the product and using the products yourself so that you can then develop a story. So the very first thing that you must do in learning how to handle people's objections is you've got to have a story, your own story around the product. So you use the product, you tell your story, and then you make the recommendation. And when we make the recommendation to either the product or the business, we are always going to share third-party information. And that might be a YouTube link around, the farm to capsule. It could be a doctor's testimonial. It could be the nurse's video. It could be a product on the business. A video on the business. It could be one of our Hamilton Island business videos. It could be a business video by John Holowati or the UK team. Whatever it is, you are going to share some resource. It might even be just the brochure. But when you make the recommendation, you are going to share a resource. And if you're not sharing the resources, guys, you've got to be sharing third-party credibility. It's got to be more than just you. And then, of course, you're setting that time to follow up with them. So it might be, look, I'd like you to watch this 4-minute video. How would it be if I gave you a call at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon? Will that give you enough time? Yes, no. And then you make that time to follow up. Who here is given someone information and then they never know how long to follow up? Or do I leave them a week? Yeah, okay. So lesson number 1 is always set a date and a time. Make sure that suits them and they know that they have to have gotten through that information by that time that you're going to follow them up. I always like the belly-to-belly follow-up, picking up the phone call, having a conversation. Some people are happy just to do text. Some people are happy to do email. But the follow-up, as we've discussed, is really, really important. And then I will come up with something like what resonated with you on that video, or what did you like most about the information that you read, saw, listened to. And then I'll often ask another open-ended question such as what more information would you like? What more questions do you have before you give this product or this business a go? So something like that. You want to have open-ended questions. And that is often when you start to get the objections. So I have 5 simple principles that I like to follow. And I'd be very keen to hear if anyone else has any principles that they have around handling objections. But something that we practice in medicine from the very first day of starting medical school is taking a history and asking lots of questions. And we've had the calls on being a master asker, and I would recommend that if you missed our call on how to ask great questions, Natalie Baldock did that. It's posted in the Tamara Hunter YouTube channel. But you want to ask questions until you are absolutely clear about this person and their thinking process around the product. So, it might be, so someone's asked a question, oh, Kerry, that's a classic. What do you say when people say it's too expensive? So you might ask sort of questions around, so what do you think the cost of the product is? And have you broken it down? And have you worked out that it's $2.70 a day or $19 a week or $76 a month? And tell me more about what makes you think that that's expensive. What are you comparing it to that you're thinking it's expensive? And how much are you spending in your weekly food budget? And what are you spending your money on? Are you spending that on fruits and veggies? Or how much takeaway do you have? How many cups of coffee do you drink per day? Do you have a couple of glasses of wine per week? So start to put that question in the context of where people might be spending their money. So I'll often ask lots of questions until I'm really clear as to where that question might sit within their expenditure per week. Then the second thing is you must always get on the same side of the table. So instead of putting your boxing gloves on and coming out from the corner, you want to actually get on the same side of the table so you can see it from their perspective. And what I learned 10 years ago from a guy by the name of Sam Moa, who was absolutely brilliant at this in our business. Sadly, he's no longer in our business. But I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but then I found. So feel, felt, found. There is nothing better, and I use it in medicine all of the time when people are talking to me about issues that they're having. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but then I found. So if it's a thing about cost, for example, yep, I know how you feel. I know, how it is at this time of year. I felt the same way, when I first got on the product, I was a student. I didn't have a lot of income coming in. But then I found that, I wasn't getting sick on the product. And so I wasn't spending money on going to the doctor and antibiotics. I was still able to work. So I wasn't, sacrificing time with my clients and so on. So feel, felt, found is a really fantastic, particularly if it is an objection that you can resonate with. If you have had to find that $19 per week in your budget to afford the product, then share that story with them. I know how you feel. I felt exactly the same, but then I found that if I shifted my expenses around and, had one less coffee per day, I was actually able to afford the product. So I feel that's probably one of the best ways is to get on the same side of the table. And if it isn't an objection that you have felt particularly comfortable with yourself, think about the stories that people might have actually shared with you about those particular objections. The third thing is never be afraid to dispel the myths. Never be afraid if someone brings up an objection to the product, oh, you can't possibly fit all that fruits and vegetables in that product, in that capsule. Or, I know these network marketing schemes, they don't work. Never feel afraid to dispel the myth around an objection that is incorrect. And if you're unsure about whether or not their objection is correct or not, then just say, look, I haven't heard that one before, or I'm really not sure about that. Let me get back to you with that answer, because I'll just go and speak to, my sponsor who, I don't know, is generating 20K a month or something like that. If they have an objection to this business doesn't really work, okay, well, I'll just go and ask my upline who generates 20K a month from this business. So never be afraid to dispel the myth. But if you are unsure, then obviously they're challenging a belief structure in you. And that's my number 5, is that if you're feeling squeamish about a question, if you're feeling squeamish about this is just another pyramid scheme, or this type of business doesn't really work, I know this business, it doesn't work. If you are feeling squeamish about that, that's because they're challenging your belief structure. And so that's something you then have to go to work towards. So as we said before, you know, do the rating scheme yourself. If you have an issue with, so if you're rating product, belief in company, belief in self, or belief in the industry, and your rating out of 10 is a less than 7, then you need to go to work to build your belief and get over feeling squeamish. And then the final one, which I love, which I've learned from a lot of the success leaders on MLM Nation this year, and I use regularly now, and I use it with confidence, is the statement, if I could, would you? So you've asked them all these questions, you've found out, you know, the depth of their objection. It might be, look, I can't afford the product. It's too expensive. No tomorrow. I don't have $19 a week. I'm not drinking any coffee. I don't drink any alcohol. I spend all my money on fruits and veggies and no crap. And if you can't see a way to the feel, felt, found, you've dispelled all their myths, you've told them a few stories, and they're still objecting, turn it around and say, if I could, would you? If I could show you a way that you could afford to take Juice Plus for your family, would you be willing to have a look at it? If I could show you a way that you could generate $500 a month from this business, would you be interested in having a look at it? And they'll either say yes or no. And if it's a nah, I'm not interested, then your answer is next. But if you could show them and they were interested in looking at it, then that's when you can come in with the business. Never be afraid. If someone has an objection about cost, never be afraid to offer them the business, because you never know how much that business would be needed to that person. So yes, so Kerry, hopefully that's helped with a couple of the objections about cost. There's also a fantastic dialogue that I shared a long time ago on Hunters and Gatherers by Kira Westwick when she was addressing the cost thing. So often we offer people the premium pack. Never feel bad dropping back to the fruit and veg. You know, I understand that you can't afford the sort of fruit, veg and berry this month. If I could show you a way to get the product a little bit cheaper, would you be interested? How about we look at the fruit and veg as an option for you? So you're stepping back. Yes, cost before Christmas, especially on complete. Yeah, again, I don't think the answers are any different. You know, if I could show you a way that you could afford the cost of your product, would you be interested in sitting down and having a look? Now, that might be showing them the business, or that might be saying to them, look, if you can help me introduce this product to between 5 and 10 other people, I could help you cover the cost of your product. And then you can always pay them the retail profit, and that will help them cover the cost of their product. I've done that with people in the past as well. Jen Carr, some objections I've had and heard. It's too expensive. I think we've addressed that a little bit. It's a scam, pyramid scheme. Oh my God, that's a beautiful one. Like, walk right into my web, baby. we all know the pyramids now. Yeah, we all know these ones. Hang on, can you see them? Traditional business, upside network marketing. Yep. We good with that one? I just share that one. Pull out your piece of paper and say, I know how you feel. I felt exactly the same way. But when someone actually sat down with me and explained what my traditional job was like, where I'm answerable to a boss who's answerable to a boss who's answerable to a boss, and I'm never going to get to the top, versus network marketing where everyone enters at the same level and the only way you get to the top is by helping other people and there's unlimited possibility. If I could show you that, would you be interested in having a look? So I think that's a really great one there. I'm a healthy person. I don't need it. Yeah, I totally agree. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. You know, I've been preaching health and fitness for a long, long time. But when I looked back over what I'd eaten for the last 24 hours and realized that I wasn't getting my 5 to 10 serves of fruits and veggies every day, then I knew that So do you see what I mean? I'm still using the same principles. I don't have time. Yeah, I don't have time. I know how you feel, Jody. I felt exactly the same way. I'm a busy mum of 2 kids. I run my own medical practice. But I knew that this was a way that I could actually help to generate more time in my life by developing this business. If I could show you a way to generate more time in your life, would you be interested in having a look? So you see, I'm starting to use the same things over, and I'm like a broken record. But you can actually utilize the same principles over and over again. So I think I've gabbed on long enough. Is there anyone else that has a burning way that they find is super successful in handling objections? Does anyone else have anything to share? Because my way is not the only way, but that's just what's worked for me over time. Anyone else have anything else? I know, Jen, you use the "if I could, would you?" Has anyone got any objections that they have successfully handled recently that they would that they'd like to share some success moments in handling objections? Or you're on here.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Jacinta. Yeah, we can.
Hi. How you going?
Good.
It was taking too long. It was taking too long for me to write the objection. I was like, oh, I'm making too many mistakes. I just thought that what you just mentioned about what I've been able to. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous because I know everyone can hear me. With the cost-wise, what I've noticed that's working for me, as soon as I'm telling people, it's either the 117 a month or the 72,
76.
The fruit and veggie.
Yep, 76.
Yeah, I noticed that 76. I'm noticing that if I break it down to, it's actually only like $4.17 a month, or if I'm breaking it down on a daily basis, I'm getting a different reaction. And I'm noticing it's like if I'm doing that more, people are like, okay. And it's just a different reaction altogether. I've just learned that in the last month. So instead of me doing the whole monthly thing, I'm breaking it down.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, and you're absolutely right. And putting that that daily cost in comparison to other things that they might spend their money on. So Bronnie shared, has always shared, and I've always put this in the back of my mind and shared it with people many, many years ago. She shared your shopping trolley. So, how much do you spend in your shopping trolley? What are the sorts of things that you put in your shopping trolley? Because we all go to the shops once a week. Now, if I could tell you to take $19 worth of stuff out of your shopping trolley that you don't need on a weekly basis so that you could include Juice Plus, it might be the Tim Tams, it might be the ice cream, it might be the frozen pizza. Like, if you could take out $19 worth of produce that you don't need and is really just a want so that you could so that you could afford Juice Plus, would you do that? And I've always held that visual in the back of my mind when people are needing help to figure out how they could afford Juice Plus in their weekly budget. I've always found that to be a really, really good one. Jen, you said the takeaway is powerful instead of putting the gloves on. Do you want to explain what you mean by that a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So, my dog doesn't come in. So basically, when people are being quite confrontational and they're being quite, and you kind of can get your back up, and instead of, like you said, putting your boxing gloves on, I think sometimes those people they're just trying to get a rise out of you a lot of the time. And sometimes in that case, you kind of got to judge it a bit, but sometimes I'll just say, yeah, do you know what? It might not be for you. And as soon as you say that to someone, they kind of go, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not for me? Why? Am I not good enough for that? And even if they don't react like that, you've taken the pressure out of the situation. You just reaffirmed that, it might not be for you. That's okay. You've taken the pressure out of it. And they're going to be more likely to go away and think, what do you mean that it's not for me? Instead of thinking, I should have heard it, So sometimes it can be a little bit, deflammatory to a situation.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Yeah. So next time we've got the antagonistic person, I'll try that for sure. Like you said, take the heat out of it. Cara, I feel like people might get annoyed with me if I suggest they could go without certain extras. Well, all you're doing is helping find a solution. So again, it's just changing the perspective by which you're looking at it. It's like when people, people have, so you've given them a link, you've asked them to go away and look at it, they've seen the value, you have identified in them, so you've gone back to them and say, what resonated with you? Oh, you don't eat enough fruits and veggies yet. Know how you feel. How's it been over the last 24 hours? Yeah, it's been difficult. Life's gotten in the way. I don't know, kids have been sick. Life's gotten all a bit too hard. So you've identified a gap, or you've helped them you've helped them realize that they've got a gap by asking all of those questions. So they've come to the realization that they have a need for Juice Plus, and then they turn around and say, yeah, but I can't afford it. And then you turn around and you say something like, look, if I could show you a way that you could afford the product, would you be interested in just having a look at this scenario? Let's have a look at what you put in your shopping trolley. So again, you're getting around the same side of the table as them. You're not challenging them and saying, you should take this out, you should take this out, you should take this out. You're helping them to come to the realization that if they just made a few subtle shifts in their budget, they would be able to afford that. And if you've got a story yourself around that, I mean, I had a story. As a 23-year-old, I was living in Australia's most expensive city. I really wanted to have Juice Plus in my system whilst I was studying. And by hook or by crook, I would make sure that I could go on the product. How was I going to do that? Well, I ended up going and getting more customers. But not only that, is I started to manipulate where I was spending other money. So I was going without a cup of coffee a day. I was going without a couple of drinks at the end of the week because I valued Juice Plus more. And so you've got to get people to that position. How do you do that? Well, you hold their hand and you show them. It's not that you're shooting all over them. It's more, here's a way that you could do it. Have a think about it from this perspective. Jen, going back to asking them why they were interested in the first place. Yeah, how important is it to you? Yeah, and that's that asking questions. You know, what is it that resonated with you? Why do you think you need Juice Plus? Some people say, why don't they sell it in the shops? Oh, Kerry, I love that one. Again, walk into my web. So the product, this is a product that is totally unique. And it's not something that will sit on a shelf and sell itself. It needs to be explained. People need to realize that we don't have a vitamin deficiency. We have a whole food deficiency. And if we've got a whole food deficiency, then we need to be bridging the gap with whole food. And so if people say, why don't they sell it in the shops? That's what I say. I say, look, you know, it's something that most people don't understand. Let's look back at your diet over the last 24 hours. You know, have you got your 10 serves of fruits and veggies? No. Well, this is where a product like this might be good. Did you learn something from that? Yeah, well, that's why we don't put it in the shop. Some people like to use it keeps the cost of the product down. As Bronnie would tell you, having worked in pharmacy for decades, the markup is over 100%. And because we don't spend money on advertising and so on, then we're able to keep the cost of the product affordable for most people. So that's another great one. But yeah, again, leading with, I know how you feel. I felt the same way, blah, 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 blah. So guys, hopefully that was helpful. It seems that costs is always going to be one of the most common things that we come up against. And hopefully you've had some ideas on how you might deal with that. There's certainly been some pearls shared on here tonight. Are there any other objections, particularly about the product or the business? Once again, I'll just rehash over the principles. Ask lots of questions until you are really clear on where their objection fits within their life. Use feel, felt, found. It's always about getting on the same side of the table. Just don't be afraid to dispel the myths. And if you're unsure, lean into your upline and lean into your support. Use if I could, would you be interested? And then don't forget to build your belief in those 4 pillars of belief. So guys, thanks so much for sharing on tonight. I think I've answered everyone's questions, and thank you so much to everybody who put their 2 cents worth in. It was very valuable tonight. I will be posting this recording.